There is something about the end of the day that asks for nothing. No applause, no explanation, no promise that tomorrow will be better. Only a quiet fading of light across the water. The sky slowly changes its colors without announcing the moment. Blue becomes gold. Gold softens into amber. The horizon welcomes the evening as naturally as the shore welcomes the lake. Nothing hurries. Nothing hesitates. Everything simply arrives when it is ready. Looking across the water, it becomes difficult to say where the sky ends and the lake begins. The reflection is gentle, not perfect. Small ripples carry the colors across the surface, reminding us that even calm is alive. Stillness has never meant complete silence. It has never required the absence of movement. Perhaps stillness is simply movement without resistance. The evening seems to understand this. It never forces daylight to disappear. It never rushes darkness to arrive. It allows one to become the other, slowly, patiently, almost unnoticed. How often do we forget that life changes in the same quiet way? We wait for dramatic moments, clear endings, obvious beginnings. Yet most of what shapes us happens almost invisibly. A conversation that stays with us, a quiet decision made without certainty, a single evening when something inside us finally becomes a little lighter. No one else sees these moments, yet they quietly become part of who we are. The lake keeps receiving the fading light. Every color is welcomed. Nothing is held. Nothing is refused. When the bright gold disappears, the water does not ask for it to return. It simply reflects what remains. Perhaps peace begins there, not in holding on to what was beautiful, but in remaining open to whatever beauty comes next. The distant hills stand quietly beneath the widening sky. They do not compete with the sunset. They do not ask to be noticed. Their quiet presence is enough. Some things become more meaningful the less they demand our attention. Silence is one of them. The evening is another. The gentle rhythm of water against the shore belongs to that same quiet language. It says nothing, yet somehow it feels familiar. Perhaps because there has always been a part of us that understands silence, long before words, long before plans, long before the endless habit of thinking about what comes next. There was simply awareness, watching light move across water, listening to wind pass through open space, feeling the day slowly loosen its grip. As the colors continue changing, time itself begins to feel different. Minutes seem wider, breaths become slower. Thoughts no longer arrive with the same urgency. The mind, so accustomed to chasing tomorrow, quietly remembers that this evening asks for nothing except to be witnessed. No task remains unfinished here. No expectation hangs over the horizon. The lake does not wonder whether it reflected enough sunlight today. The sky does not question whether its colors were beautiful enough. The evening never compares itself to yesterday. It simply becomes what it is. Perhaps this is why places like this feel so deeply restful. They offer no standard we must reach, no version of ourselves we must become. Only space, only water. Only the quiet unfolding of another ordinary evening that becomes extraordinary simply because nothing is trying to be extraordinary. The last warmth of the sun begins slipping beneath the distant hills. The light grows softer, the blues deepen, the gold slowly disappears into gentle shades of violet and silver. Nothing has been lost. The day has not ended in failure because it became night. It has simply completed its own quiet journey. Perhaps every day has been teaching this lesson, that endings are not interruptions. They are part of the rhythm that allows beginnings to exist at all. The lake continues reflecting. The sky continues changing. The evening continues arriving. And somewhere within that quiet horizon, another gentle understanding begins to appear, not as an answer, not as a conclusion, only as a feeling that perhaps there is nothing we need to hold on to quite so tightly. Perhaps, like the evening itself, life becomes gentler whenever we allow it to unfold in its own time. The sun has almost disappeared now. Its light no longer reaches across the entire lake. Instead, it lingers gently along the horizon, as though saying goodbye without needing words. Nothing dramatic happens. The world simply becomes quieter. The colors that filled the sky only moments ago begin dissolving into softer shades. Blue deepens, gold fades. The first hints of evening settle over the water. The lake accepts every change without hesitation. It does not cling to the light. It does not fear the coming darkness. It reflects whatever the sky offers. No more, no less. There is something deeply comforting about that. To exist without resistance. To receive each moment without asking it to be different. Perhaps this is what the evening quietly teaches. That acceptance is not giving up. It is allowing life to move without constantly standing in its way. The surface of the water ripples gently beneath a passing breeze. For a few moments the reflection blurs. The horizon becomes uncertain. The colors scatter into countless moving fragments. Then, just as naturally, the water settles again. Nothing needed fixing. Nothing was broken. Stillness simply returned. How many moments in our own lives are like that? A difficult conversation, an unexpected disappointment, a day that feels heavier than the one before. We often believe something has permanently changed, yet many things are only passing winds upon the surface. Beneath them, something quieter remains. The distant shoreline grows darker as the light continues fading. Its outline becomes softer, less defined, yet somehow it feels even more peaceful than before. Not everything becomes clearer with more light. Sometimes gentleness appears when sharp edges disappear. Perhaps certainty is not always what the heart seeks. Perhaps it longs instead for space, for openness, for room enough to let every thought arrive without immediately judging it. The evening offers exactly that, a wide horizon, an endless lake, a sky that asks nothing from those who look toward it. No destination waits beyond the water. No finish line rests upon the horizon. Only distance, only silence, only the slow unfolding of another ordinary day becoming night. It is remarkable how little nature explains itself. The sun never announces why it must set. The stars never justify their arrival. The lake never apologizes for becoming dark. Everything simply follows its own quiet rhythm. Perhaps we spend too much energy trying to explain our own, trying to understand every feeling, every uncertainty, every changing season of life. Sometimes there may be nothing to solve, only something to experience. The air becomes cooler. The warmth of the day quietly leaves. Breathing feels different now, slower, deeper. The world itself seems to exhale. The water reflects fewer colors than before, but somehow the reflection feels richer. Not because there is more to see, because there is less demanding our attention. When everything becomes quieter, even small things begin to matter. A single ripple, a distant bird, the faint glow remaining along the horizon. These gentle details might have gone unnoticed beneath the brightness of midday, but now they seem enough. Perhaps life has always contained enough. Perhaps it is only our hurry that convinces us otherwise. The lake never asks for a grander sunset. The sky never wishes it had borrowed different colors. Each evening completes itself exactly as it can. Nothing more is required. The horizon grows softer still. Day slowly releases its final light. Night patiently waits without rushing its turn. There is no struggle between them, only a quiet exchange. One fades, the other arrives. Both belong. Watching this, another gentle thought begins to emerge. Maybe peace is not found by holding on to what is leaving. Maybe it appears in the quiet moment when we trust that whatever comes next belongs just as naturally as everything that came before. The water continues reflecting, the sky continues changing, the evening continues unfolding, and somewhere within that widening silence, the mind begins to understand something it has always known, that every ending carries its own kind of stillness. And within that stillness, there is nothing to fear. Night has not fully arrived, yet the day has already gone. For a little while, the world belongs to neither one. The last light lingers along the horizon. The first shadows settle across the water. Everything exists in between. Perhaps this quiet hour is beautiful because it refuses to choose. It is neither beginning nor ending, neither bright nor dark. It simply becomes what only this moment can be. The lake receives these changing colors without preference. Soft blues spread across its surface. Faint gold drifts farther into the distance. Every reflection is temporary. None of them seem concerned about how long they will last. The water has learned something that we often forget. Beauty does not become more valuable because it stays. Sometimes it becomes beautiful precisely because it cannot. The evening continues unfolding without announcing each change. No single moment tells us that daylight has ended. No voice declares that night has begun. The transformation happens quietly, almost invisibly. Perhaps life changes in much the same way. The person we were a year ago disappears without ceremony. The hopes we once carried gently evolve into different ones. Old fears lose their weight. New understandings arrive without asking permission. Looking back, we see the distance. While living through it, we hardly notice the movement at all. The water grows darker, yet it loses none of its calm. It reflects less light, but not less beauty. There is comfort in that. We often believe brightness and happiness are the same thing, but evenings suggest another truth. Gentleness can exist without brilliance. Peace can exist without excitement. Silence can be full instead of empty. A single ripple crosses the lake. Its movement spreads outward in perfect circles. No rush, no hesitation. Every small movement touches something beyond itself. Perhaps our quiet moments do the same. A kind word, a patient pause, a gentle smile shared without expectation. They disappear almost immediately, yet their circles continue traveling farther than we ever see. The distant shoreline now appears almost as a silhouette. The hills rest quietly beneath the fading sky. Nothing stands apart. The land, the water, and the evening slowly blend together. The world becomes softer as details disappear. There is something peaceful about not needing to see everything clearly. The mind often believes clarity means having every answer. Nature suggests otherwise. The horizon is becoming less defined with every passing minute, yet nothing feels uncertain. Everything still belongs exactly where it is. Perhaps certainty has never depended upon perfect visibility. Perhaps trust begins where complete understanding ends. The air has become cooler now. The warmth of the day remains only as a memory carried by the fading light. Breathing feels effortless. The silence grows wider. Not because the world has stopped speaking, because it has begun speaking more quietly. The water offers its own gentle language. The sky answers without words. The hills remain steady beneath both. Nothing argues. Nothing competes. Everything moves together. The evening asks for no audience. It would arrive exactly the same if no one were watching. There is freedom in that thought. To exist without needing to be noticed. To become fully ourselves without requiring approval. The lake has never wondered whether its reflection is beautiful enough. The sky has never questioned whether its colors are impressive. They simply express what this moment allows. No more, no less. As the final glow begins slipping below the horizon, another quiet understanding slowly appears. Perhaps peace has never depended on finding the perfect day. Perhaps it has always been hidden within ordinary evenings like this one. Moments that ask nothing from us except our presence. Moments that quietly remind us that not every silence needs to be filled. Not every ending needs to be resisted. Not every unanswered question needs to become a burden. The lake continues resting beneath the fading sky. The horizon continues softening into night. The world continues becoming quieter. And somewhere within that growing stillness, it becomes easier to believe that perhaps life has never been asking us to hold on. Perhaps it has only been inviting us to notice the light while it lingers, to notice the silence while it deepens, to notice that beneath every changing sky, there has always been something within us capable of remaining quietly still. The last light has almost disappeared now. Only a quiet glow remains along the distant horizon. The lake has become darker. The sky has become softer. Yet nothing feels empty. If anything, the silence feels fuller than before. The day has slowly released everything it carried. Its brightness, its warmth, its endless movement. Now only calm remains, not because the world has stopped changing, because change has become so gentle that it no longer asks for attention. The water stretches toward the horizon like an endless mirror. The colors are quieter now, deep blues, soft silver, the faintest trace of gold where the sun once rested. Nothing tries to stay, nothing tries to leave. Everything simply becomes what this moment allows. Perhaps this is why evenings often feel so honest. There is nothing left to prove. The work of becoming daylight is finished. The work of becoming night has quietly begun. Neither one resists the other. The transition itself is peaceful. How often do we imagine that life must always move with certainty? We search for clear answers, perfect timing, definite directions. Yet the evening moves beautifully without knowing where one color ends and another begins. Its beauty lives inside uncertainty. Perhaps ours can too. A gentle breeze passes across the lake. The reflection trembles for only a moment. Then the surface becomes smooth once again. No effort, no struggle. Calm has never been something the water creates. It is simply what remains when the wind has passed. Perhaps the same is true within us. So much of what feels restless is temporary. Thoughts arrive, thoughts leave, emotions rise, emotions soften. Worry convinces us that every feeling will last forever. The evening quietly reminds us otherwise. Nothing in nature remains exactly the same, yet nothing ever seems afraid because of it. The shoreline has almost disappeared into shadow. Only its gentle outline remains against the fading sky. The hills no longer separate themselves from the darkness. They simply become part of it. There is something beautiful about disappearing without being lost. The stars will soon begin appearing, not all at once, one by one, quietly, patiently, as though the sky understands there is no need for urgency. Even the universe seems to move with extraordinary patience. Perhaps we have always belonged to that same rhythm, not the hurried rhythm of clocks, but the slower rhythm of seasons, of tides, of sunsets, of breaths taken without counting them. The lake continues resting beneath the growing night. It reflects whatever little light remains, never asking whether it is enough, never comparing tonight to yesterday. Every evening is complete simply because it arrives. Perhaps every life is much the same. We often measure ourselves against impossible standards. We compare our journey with someone else's. We wonder whether we have done enough, become enough, achieved enough. Yet the evening offers another possibility. Perhaps enough has never been something to earn. Perhaps it has always been quietly present beneath everything we believed was missing. The first stars begin appearing above the dark horizon, small points of light within an endless sky. They do not erase the darkness. They simply belong within it. Light and darkness have never been enemies. They complete one another. Without night, the stars remain unseen. Without silence, gentle words lose their meaning. Without endings, beginnings would never feel new. The lake holds the sky one final time. The last reflection becomes softer with every passing moment. Soon only darkness will remain upon the water. Yet even then, the lake will not have become empty. It will simply be waiting for another morning, another sunrise, another quiet beginning. Perhaps that is what hope truly looks like. Not loud, not certain, only patient, trusting that light always returns, even after it disappears beyond the horizon. The evening has offered no lessons, no instructions, no promises, only its quiet presence. And perhaps that has always been enough. The water remains, the horizon remains, the silence remains. And somewhere within that silence, one final thought settles gently into place. Life has never asked us to control every changing sky. It has only invited us to witness it, to let each day arrive, to let each day go, and to discover somewhere beneath every sunset and every sunrise, a quiet place within ourselves that remains still, open, and at peace.